Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Dave Menz with us, aka the Laundromat Millionaire. He's co-founder at Laundroboost and founder at Laundromat Millionaire. Has been founder at Queen City Laundry for more than 15 years now. Such an impressive track record. We're gonna talk about Dave's background, how he became a millionaire through running a bunch of laundromat. This podcast is brought to you by podpar.com. If you want to start, scale, monetize your own podcast, go to podpar.com. It's also brought to you by Qualia. If you want to optimize your brain, it helps with focus, memory, and drive as a busy entrepreneur. I like popping a couple of those every day. It gets me in the flow state. Dave, welcome to the podcast. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Charles. My name is Dave Menz. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the United States, and I got into the laundromat business back in 2010, sort of by accident. I was a corporate employee, worked my way up to middle management over a 17-year career, and realized that I kind of lost track of my dream of being a business owner, and decided to pivot in my early 30s and go back and chase that dream and purchased a local laundromat just a couple miles from my house for sale. It was a rundown mess, losing money when I bought it. I knew that they were very transparent about that, and we were able to turn it around, make it a profitable business, and we now own a chain of laundromats here in Cincinnati, and we have a fleet of delivery vehicles that go out during the day when our stores are open to the public, and they do pickup and delivery laundry service as well.
So tell me about the laundry business. You'd be the second entrepreneur in the laundromat business I have on this podcast. What's so appealing about it? Is it more of a long-term investment? Because when I think of physical businesses or laundromat, I can think of, lots of, I don't know, poor folks that just come in and wash their laundry, which is not always the best for business. I think of mechanical repairs. I think of potential problem. Most of that can be automated, but tell me about why this business model is appealing if you want to become financially free.
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of people are attracted to the business because they see it as some type of a passive income, retail business where you just show up and collect the money and the employee or the customers do all the work. And there's some truth to that, but it's definitely not a passive business. I like to refer to it as more of a flexible business. If you think about the business model, you have this retail space and you have a bunch of washers and dryers of different sizes, but you typically have at least two to four of each different size. And so the worst that can really happen, aside from a catastrophe like a fire or something like that, the worst that can really happen is a washer or dryer breaks down. And the nice thing about the business model is if that happens, you typically have three, four, five, six other ones that are exactly the same. And so you do have to fix it. You do have to keep it clean. There's steps to the process to be able to manage a lot of that stuff with technology. And then you have typically a small team that can manage and clean the store for you and things like that. But the reason it's flexible, or the reason that so many people are attracted to it, is the flexibility. So when that washer dryer breaks down, or God forbid, a few break down, you don't have to drop everything and run right up to the laundromat and fix them immediately. You could put them out of order, and generally speaking, most people don't like them down very, very long. So usually a couple days. So if you have systems and processes and team in place that can manage those types of things for you, then it's not a matter of if they happen; it's a matter of when they happen. And of course, they're going to happen. And when they happen, you have a plan for when those are going to be fixed. So, an example that's pretty common in the industry is people will have a service technician that will fix their washers and dryers. And the weekends, we do about 50% of our business for the week, usually on Saturdays and Sundays, and most laundromats. So, what a lot of owners will do is they'll have their service technician come by on every Friday, and they'll get the goal will be to get everything up and running for the weekend. And you might have a few machines out of order for a few hours or a few days during the week, but it's really not that difficult to manage the business. Now, the other side of the equation is our industry has become pretty sophisticated. And the other side, that's the very basic side of the industry. The very sophisticated side of the industry is what we call a full service laundry center. So this is a laundromat that is open to the public. But in that case, and this is an example of my business models today, um, in that case, as an example, our current business model generates 15 to 20% of its income from self-serve customers who don't have washers and dryers at home and are low income. So it's definitely not the stereotype. And the other income streams that we attract people from are people that live in middle class, upper middle class, single family homes, and they have a washer and dryer in their home, but it breaks. Well, when it breaks, sometimes it takes a while to get it fixed or get it replaced. It can sometimes take several weeks or a month. During that time, that middle class family is still wearing laundry every day, and they don't want it to pile up on them. So a lot of times they'll toss everything in the family minivan or SUV, and they'll drive up to the local laundromat and pay to do their laundry that way. So if you think about it throughout the chasm of the entire community that you serve, let's say there's 20 to 100,000 people that live within 5 miles of your laundromat. If every one of them do that once or twice every year or two, that makes up the majority of your customer base. It's actually not the people that use it every week and don't have a washer and dryer in your store. And then there's ancillary things like drop off laundry, where people who are just busy and don't want to do their own laundry can drop it off to your team and you process the laundry for them. Your team processes the laundry for them. And then we've taken it to another level with a pickup and delivery service where we have a fleet of vans that goes out to the public and we pick up the laundry from their homes or businesses, bring it back to the facility. We professionally process it for them. So that's kind of the other side of the industry. And that's kind of what our business model is around nowadays. And to give you an example, we have 4 laundromats here in Cincinnati, Ohio. We generate a couple $1 million a year in business, and we have a team of about 40 employees. So certainly the other end of the spectrum from just the stereotypical passive income, show up and collect your money and keep the equipment working. But those are kind of the two extreme sides of the industry.
Right. And give me the economics of, let's say I start a laundromat on my side. How much dryers,
Mhm.
washers do I need to buy? How much I need to pay of rent on a monthly basis? And how much can I make from the customers washing and drying their clothes on a monthly basis?
Yeah. As a general rule of thumb, the business model is usually about a 30% profit margin. So if you're running the business really well and efficiently, whatever revenue you generate, you can expect about 30% of that to be profit. There are people that operate a more simplistic model that can have higher profit margins, but as a general rule of thumb, that's a good idea. As far as the cost to build a brand new laundromat from scratch, which is the most expensive way to build, usually the cost to build that out, including all the infrastructure, the plumbing, the electric and everything, on the lower end will be about $150 a square foot. And on the higher end, very, very nice, beautiful, modernized laundromats with, leather furniture and granite countertops and things like that can be up to $300 a square foot. And that would include your equipment typically.
Right. And give me also the economics of running a mobile uh, car wash. Well, I mean, you do the pickup, you do the
Uh-huh.
the delivery of clothes. Always mistaken with deliverability. I'm into cold email. Um, so uh, what about that part of the business? Is it recommended from the start? Is it more profitable because you're reaching out people from their own? They don't have to show up to the actual laundromat. Tell me about that part.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on how you structure yourself. The further you send your fleet of vehicles, the more, service or service area you open up. Of course, the more revenue and the bigger business you can generate. A lot of that has to do with your market. I always say if you can walk out the front door of your laundromat and throw a baseball and hit 2 million people, like you're in downtown New York City, for example, then you don't have to go very far. Your logistics costs are going to be very efficient. And if you're out in the country, then you're going to have to go, maybe 30, 45 minutes in some cases to reach, different communities to be able to build a substantial business. But the profit margins are typically about the same at scale. Notice I said at scale because when you launch a pickup and delivery business, unless you're just trying to build a really little business kind of right around your store and you're not very ambitious, you're not trying to go very far. If you're trying to build a substantial business, it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 years to really build a substantial operation that's highly profitable. But the margins at that scale usually end up being anywhere from 30 to 40%. So end up having very similar profit margins once you've scaled for the pickup and delivery side of the business, even though it's a very labor intensive business compared to the self-serve side of the business. The self-serve side, obviously, being when people walk into your store and pay to use your washers and dryers. But the margins are very similar at scale.
Tell me about the podcast that you started. What was the goal
Mhm.
of it, and what have you got from it so far?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So we have a podcast called the Laundromat Millionaire Show that me and my wife Carla host. We launched it about 3.5 years ago now, and the reason we launched it is our industry is very old school and kind of antiquated. Everything we do in the laundromat industry seems to be 20 to 30 years behind the rest of the world for whatever reason. And we fell in love with the industry back in 2010. We learned a lot of things over the first 5 or 10 years we were in the industry, but we learned through the school of hard knocks. There really wasn't any collaborating or conferences or networking, or there certainly wasn't any podcasts or websites that were helpful for laundromat owners to learn how to build and scale their business profitably. And we had reached a point where we had learned a lot of those things ourselves through the school of hard knocks. And we just kind of said, it really shouldn't be that hard to be successful in the laundromat industry. All these other industries have all these different resources and podcasts and blogs and coaches and all these different things. Why doesn't our industry have things like that? And so, being typical entrepreneurs, we decided to do something about it. So we launched our podcast, and the goal was really two things: was to give exposure to the people in the industry that are doing great things and kind of prop them up and show them that you can be successful at a high level in this industry. And then, of course, share what we call golden nuggets, whether it's me and Carla sharing our wisdom on the podcast, which we do every show, or sometimes we have guests on the show, and they're sharing their wisdom and knowledge. And sometimes those things complement each other, and sometimes they conflict. And we have really healthy, authentic conversations around how to be successful. And obviously, everyone knows in any industry, you don't, there's not one way to be successful. There's usually at least a half dozen or more ways to be successful. So it's just designed to be an open conversation among, us laundromat owners with our knowledge and experience and whoever our guest is that day. And we're in season 5 now, so we've grown quite a bit. We think it's really making a difference in the industry and helping the independent owner to run their business better. Because when we laundromat owners run our businesses better, we serve our communities better. And one of the things I've learned about the laundromat industry is these businesses are a vital community resource. Like in every community that a laundromat is in, if it doesn't serve the community well, there's a hole in the community. And if the laundromat owner runs the business really well and serves the community really well, it fills that vacuum or that void. And so that's a big part of what we're trying to do, is just help laundromat owners under the premise that it just shouldn't be this difficult to run a business successfully.
Right. So you've got a couple of laundromats. You also
Mhm.
offer a bunch of courses. You offer marketing to other laundromat owners. How does the revenue distribute itself in your business? Is it 50% from the laundromats and 50% from helping laundromat owners grow their business?
Oh, no, definitely not. No, it's probably more like 20% coaching, workshops, podcasts, things like that, and 80% from our retail businesses. We own a chain of 4 laundromats, and then, like I said, we have a fleet of pickup and delivery vehicles out. That business we've been building for 15 years. The laundromat millionaire side, the coaching, the workshops, the courses, all that kind of stuff, we've only been doing that for about 4 years. So we're still getting our bearings under us. And honestly, a lot of the revenue that we generate from the coaching and things like that, we're reinvesting back into platform to build a better website, build a better course next time, improve the post-production process of the podcast to make it more professional, built out a podcast studio in our home, different things like that. So yeah, we've been reinvesting a lot of it, but it's definitely making a difference, and we think the future is really bright for both businesses.
Tell me about the marketing side of it. Like if I
Mhm.
own a laundromat, should I invest in Facebook or Instagram ads? Like what do you recommend for people to know of the existence of your laundromat, and what do you suggest so that they come to yours and not the competitions?
Mhm. Yeah, so the marketing company is called Launder Boost Digital Marketing. That's a company we started with a business partner about a year and a half ago, and we started it because we saw, once again, a big problem in the industry. One problem in the industry is probably 75% of the laundromats across the country are just very poorly run. The owners either don't care, they don't reinvest, They don't know what they're doing, so they don't know how to do it better. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And a marketing can't really help that, right? That's the coaching, the workshops. I mean, you have to fix your business before promoting your business is going to make sense. But the other 25% of the industry is a lot of rock stars, a lot of people that really run a great business in a lot of ways, and they just need more people to know about it. And the truth is, there's a ton of marketing companies out there in the world. And my experience is with hiring them for our local businesses is very few of them, they're really good at what they do. A lot of them make a lot of empty promises, but a lot of them are just very subpar in the results that they deliver. And so we decided to launch our own digital marketing company with a business partner that specializes in digital marketing and has been doing it for about a decade. And just to help the independent owner promote their business better. So as far as the things that we recommend, we have a lot of different services available depending on your needs. But as a general rule of thumb, we usually start with a website, which isn't a complicated thing, obviously. Most laundromats either don't have a website or they have a very poorly built website that's not properly optimized without proper landing pages and things like that. And you can run all the ads on Google and Facebook that you want to, but if you if your landing pages are horrible and you don't have any good SEO or you don't have a good offer, a call to action, things like that, it doesn't really matter. So we usually start at the core of let's look at your website, your Google business profile, make sure those are properly optimized so that you're getting all the traction that you need. And then from there, we usually, depending on the customer and how mature their business is, we usually recommend with trying to drum up some buzz via things like paid ads, Google ads, and things like that. And as we start to build the funnel out, then we start to look to things that are a little bit more optimizable, things like retargeting ads via social media. So you're taking people that were interested in your product in some way or short form, but they never took action. They didn't actually sign up for service, but they clicked on the ad. And we'll run retargeting ads back to them to try to convert them into a customer. And those are usually the things that we kind of start with. We have some more sophisticated things that kind of grow with you in time, but that's where we usually recommend most people start, depending on their budget and where their business model is. But honestly, Charles, we talk a lot of people out of paid digital marketing because we don't think their business is ready for it. I mean, if you have a very average business or below average business, the last thing you want to do is go tell people about your business because they're going to come in and see your business and they're going to see you're subpar or average at best, and they're not going to be impressed and they're not going to come back. And that's failed digital marketing, right? You want them to come back. If they just come once and never come back, I mean, usually your cost of acquisition is too high. And that usually doesn't end up being a good investment for you. So that's once again just the nature of our business and our industry, just that a lot of people aren't operating at a high level. So a lot of times we tell them to push pause on the marketing and we say, hey, let's go over and do some coaching. Let's do some workshops, maybe take our course. Let's improve your business to the point of where it makes sense to shine a light on it in your community.
Right. On your side, it seems that you favored slow growth over the last 15 years with Ford laundromats. Why not become a PE-like business and go on a massive acquiring spree?
Mhm. Yeah, great question. Well, in our case, I've always wanted to own 100% of my businesses. This is the retail businesses, and the reason we started so slow is that the business model itself is very capital intensive. Like this equipment is expensive, the build out is expensive. This is a retail structure, all the plumbing and electric and everything that goes to the gas lines. Building out a laundromat is very expensive. Even if it's an older laundromat that you took over, you usually have to do a lot of repairs to the infrastructure. And then you have to put new equipment in, modernize technology, and it's very expensive. Now, over the long run, it ends up being a great investment. But if you're looking to just get rich quick in 2 or 3 years, this probably isn't the business for you. And that's also typically the kind of businesses that, private equity likes to go after is super high cash flow, great margins, but not a lot of investment. And they see great returns and they usually see them real quickly. That's typically not something that people associate with the laundromat industry, although there are exceptions to everything. So in our case, the reason we grew so slowly was we started with at a net worth of less than $30,000. So back in 2010, when we got in the industry, literally me and my wife, we were young and had young family, and we were, we just didn't have much money. And so growing our business was a lot of slow and steady. I call it stair stepping. So we would buy a business, we would put kind of lipstick on a pig, make it look nicer, borrow a little bit of money, put some new equipment in, raise the prices, and then let that marinate for 6 months or a year and let business grow. And then the cash flow that we produced from that investment we would reinvest back in the next step, the next layer of improving the business. So when you do that year after year, you end up building a great business without having a lot of your own cash in the business. But it's not a quick process. It's not a get rich kind of thing. There are a lot of people that get into the industry that are very wealthy and they can move very, very fast because they know they'll get their investment back in the long run. But if you're not independently wealthy, then how we did it is usually the only way to do it.
So why should a person start a laundromat business and not a franchise type of business? Like, I don't know, buy a Subway or a Chick-fil-A, or
Mhm.
start a business of their own, a marketing agency, a hair stylist, salon, or
Mhm.
whatever. Like, why should they go after the laundromat model in 2024?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. And honestly, I don't think everybody should go after a laundromat. The people that typically find great success with it start with kind of the servant mentality, right? They actually get up every day and they want to make life and the world a better place for other people. Not saying you can't do that in other businesses, but they also tend to be kind of free spirited, meaning they tend to be more mechanical in a lot of ways. They don't mind getting their hands dirty, although you don't have to get your hands dirty. They typically enjoy those type of things. And I think the last thing is just freedom. When you are an independent business owner in an industry like the laundromat industry, you kind of have the whole world available to you. And if you go to conferences and trade shows and workshops and you see ideas that would work really well in your business, excuse me, you see ideas that would work really well in your business. You can just chase them and you don't have to ask anyone's permission. When it comes to the franchise models, those are very proven models, but you're really just plugging yourself into a system and you're obeying orders. Now the good news about that is if you don't have that typical entrepreneurial spirit and you just want to follow a system that you know will work and will make you money, a lot of very successful franchises are great investments. And I think that's typically the biggest difference between the two. There are a few companies in our industry trying to franchise the laundromat industry. I don't see a whole lot of success so far, but a lot of good people trying to, put a business in a box together that somebody can come in and just implement their system. They've been trying for 30 years in our industry to franchise laundromats, and it hasn't worked out yet. But maybe this will be the time that it works.
Want to know your philosophy on wealth. How much do you enjoy? How much do you invest back into business? What's your philosophy? Why was the millionaire thing worthwhile?
Yeah, for us, with the first 10 to 12 years that we were in the business, we invested almost everything. I mean, we took a very modest salary only after about 6 years. We didn't take anything out of the business for about 6 years. But mostly that was out of necessity. We wanted to build a substantial business. We wanted to build some wealth, but we also really wanted to change our community. And all the laundromats in our community here in on the east side of Cincinnati were in pretty rough shape back then. And we really wanted to make a difference. And like I said, we didn't have the capital. So we had to kind of keep our hand out of the cookie jar, so to speak, and reinvest everything we made back in the business to grow it to the next level. So that was what we did for the first 10 or 12 years. After that, we, upgraded our lifestyle a little bit, bought ourselves a new home and a new vehicle, and we spoil ourselves a little bit more on vacations and things like that nowadays. But our life hasn't honestly changed drastically from 15 years ago. And nowadays we are investing a lot of the fruits of our labor into the Laundromat Millionaire platform. Because like I said, we're now, when we first were in the laundromat industry, we were just trying to change our local communities. Now with the Laundromat Millionaire platform, the coaching, the workshops, all those things, we're really trying to change the industry. I mean, we're that 75% that we talk about, we're not naive. We're not under the impression that we can just solve every problem in the industry, but we do believe that we can make a big difference in the world via the laundromat industry if we focus on those independent owners who really want to make a difference and just don't know how to do it, or they need networking and connections and friendships. And like I said, those kind of golden nuggets of how to operate their business better. So we invest a lot of our time and resources back into that platform right now because we think there's a lot of opportunity there to make a difference on kind of a national and even international level.
Right. And that was my very next and last question. Like, you've seen poverty firsthand.
Mhm.
You've helped, I guess, your community grow up out of it at some point, what would be the blueprint? Let's say that I'm a Mexican immigrant and immigrate to Cincinnati. And yeah, at first I don't have a job and so forth. Like, what is your blueprint to grow up out of poverty and into wealth?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I mean, in my case, or if you want to do it through the laundromat industry, if you don't have any, any money, so to speak, then usually the best way to do it is by acquiring a rundown, basically like I did, follow my blueprint, I guess what I would say, which is find a rundown laundromat that you can acquire for next to nothing. You might have to work a job for a few years and save up a little bit of money, which we did. Kind of live below your means and squirrel some money away, and you get 20, $30,000 saved up over a few years, and you can borrow the rest of the money to buy that first laundromat. And then you just have to be willing to live below your means and reinvest what the business makes, at least a portion of it, back in the business. And you do that over a long enough period of time, you'll start to build a substantial wealth for yourself. So there may be better ways to do it, but that's how I did it. That's how I recommend people do it in the laundromat industry. And the good news is nowadays, when you first get in the industry and you buy that first rundown laundromat, you have no idea what you're doing. There's a lot of really solid free resources out there. Our podcast, as an example, our YouTube channel, even our book, my book that I wrote, Laundromat Millionaire, is pretty inexpensive. And you can buy that and get a lot of knowledge and experience. I post a lot of free content and blogs and stuff on social media. I do a lot of interviews like this to share my knowledge and experience with people all over the world. And there's a lot of that information. Now, it'll only get you so far. There are a lot of people that think it doesn't make sense to invest in coaching and workshops and the courses and the higher levels of education, the networking, the masterminds, those kind of things. And I completely disagree. I have a coach myself, and I recommend that everyone has a coach once you can afford it. But when you first get started, probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But once you get to a certain level, you'll kind of start to plateau with a lot of those free resources because they say a lot of the same things over and over again. And if you don't know anything, they're going to be very helpful. But once you get to a certain level, usually 2, 3 years in, you're usually going to outgrow that information, and it's all going to sound the same. Every time you go to a conference, you hear this vague information being spoken of. And that's when you really need to drill down on what do I need to do specifically. And that's where like one-on-one coaching and attending intense workshops like we put on here in Cincinnati and things like that, really finding a mentor that can actually help you walk your journey, because your journey is unique from everyone else's. And once you kind of recognize that, of course, you have to find the right person. Not, there's a lot of people that charge for coaching and consulting and things like that really don't provide a lot of value. But if you find that there's a lot of good people out there, not just us, who do coaching and workshops and things like that, and if you get plugged into the right community and you start collaborating and building relationships with the right people, what I call those abundance mindset kind of people, man, all of a sudden your brain just expands and your whole worldview expands, and what you believe is available and how you can accomplish it. Just the whole world kind of opens up to you. So that's usually the phase two, but you wouldn't want to start that way from day one. Start with all that free content and absorb as much of that as you can.
Love it, Dave. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, thank you, Charles. So I'm on almost all the social media platforms. I think we connected through LinkedIn, if I remember right. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group that's free to join, by the way. There's like 7,000 laundromat owners in my Facebook group. It's called Laundromat Millionaire Owners Group. You can find me on Twitter, now called X. And then just visit our website is the best place. You can find links to all those platforms there, but you'll find us. We have a YouTube channel. Like I said, we have a podcast that's on all the major podcasting platforms, but the best way is just laundromatmillionaire.com, and you'll find everything you need right there on the website.